The breaking news coming across our desk. Tyson Fury, the heavyweight champion of the world, 25-0 with 18 KOs, WBA, WBO, IBO. He was just stripped of the IBF championship. Comment on Conor McGregor and also challenged Cain Velasquez in MMA, UFC, 13-2, 11 KOs, former two-time world champion in MMA, UFC. On the line, we have live from South Korea, Tommy Brazenstein. He's going to weigh in on this after we read this article really quickly, because this is some developing, progressing, impending news. World heavyweight boxing champion, according to the Bleacher Report, Tyson Fury has accused UFC star Conor McGregor of mimicking his style as the latter gets set for the biggest fight of his life against Jose Aldo this weekend, December the 12th. Fury, who shocked the boxing world to beat Vladimir Klitschko last month, spoke on the MMA Hour to Ariel Helwani, touching upon a plethora of topics, and it was clear that the British boxer has mixed opinions when it comes to Conor McGregor. Warning about the language. I think he copies me and everything he does. I was the first trash talker, big time on these stories, Britain and Ireland. And all of a sudden, he starts copying me, this Conor McGregor guy. I grew a big beard. He grew a big beard. I start talking bullshit about everybody. He starts talking bullshit about everybody. So if it works for the heavyweight champ of the world, it must work for Conor McGregor, some guy who's 140 pounds or whatever. Here, in MMA Spears, McGregor is known for his colorful comments and building up to bouts, and they haven't ceased as his showdown with UFC pound for pound king Aldo edges closer. The Irishman is adamant he'll be too strong for his opponent on December 12th, insisting he'll be surprised if Aldo was to emerge for the second round. Fury told Helwani that while MMA is for people who can't box, he is excited by the grudge showdown between McGregor and Aldo at UFC 194. Conor McGregor actually got me physically watching MMA, Fury said, and got me wanting to check the results because the way he is carrying on this guy, I see a bit of myself in this guy, and I wanted to check him out. I will be watching the Aldo fight because he's had a lot to say, hasn't he, McGregor? Fury was also asked whether he would consider venturing into the sport. As Thomas wrote, Bellator president Scott Coker has tried to get the Brit involved in the brand before Fury revealed he may consider going up against some of the top MMA heavyweights further down the line, including former two-time UFC champion Cain Velasquez. I've been calling Cain out for 2 years, and then he got beaten, said Fury. So it shows you what I said was about right. I just want to fight the best stand-up fighter in the world. Whoever is the best stand-up fighter in the world, I want to fight him because I believe I'm that man. Velasquez last fought at UFC 188 in June, losing his title to Fabricio Verdum, and is expected to have a rematch in 2016. Fury told Helwani he wouldn't consider a pure MMA bout, but he would be interested in a hybrid fight against either of the aforementioned pair or whoever the UFC heavyweight champion is. In the immediate future, Fury has other things to ponder. Klitschko has insisted he will be activating his rematch clause, stating failure is not an option per BBC Sport. Although the Brit outworked the Ukrainian in their previous bout, there are many who feel the former champion will not be quite so poor again, meaning Fury will need to be at his very best to retain the title. Should Fury win the rematch, there will be opportunities aplenty for him, but a branch out into Bellator or a hybrid fight doesn't seem necessary. With Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, and Alexander Povetkin all making steady progress in the heavyweight division, there will be plenty of challenges to come for his crown in the months and years to come. Tommy Brazenstein, you heard so much in this article. Well, let's first start with Cain Velasquez.
Okay. I was never a big Cain Velasquez fan. So I don't really like Cain too much, but if it came down to an MMA fight, this guy would get trashed by Cain. I mean, there's no chance. There's absolutely no chance. And I still think that in a striking fight, Cain would kill him because Cain would press him up against the cage.
Well, you're saying in the octagon, in the cage.
Yeah, but you can still press the person up against the cage, right? He said
Yeah,
that
no
like
problem. I'm just saying you're not saying necessarily standing in the middle of the octagon.
yeah, not standing in the middle, but like if they went to a cage and they didn't go to the ground and it was a hybrid fight and they were allowed to like use elbows and short strikes and dirty boxing and all that stuff, I think Cain would just work the fucking hell out of him against the side of the cage.
He would push him against the cage, but if Cain dared to stay in the middle of the cage or didn't get his strikes off fast enough, he would get knocked out.
Yeah, Cain's never done that in his life though. He doesn't do that in MMA.
No, he really doesn't. But the most he's done it was against Junior Dos Santos, and he was knocked out in the first fight.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see that from Cain too often, where he'll stand in the middle and trade shots. He loves going and working people against the cage and just grinding it against the cage, and that's what he would do to this guy. Cain's not even a champ, so it's kind of hard to say anyway. No, what I love to see, and this was the fans would love to see, if there was a John Jones fight where John Jones went to heavyweight and fought this guy. That would be cool. People would love to see that. That guy would get the shit beat out of him. There's no way you could stand John Jones and deal with elbows and kicks and oblique kicks and, shots to the nuts, eye gouging, all the cheap stuff that John Jones does and unpredictability that he does. There's no way.
I watched Tyson Fury, his last fight with Vladimir Klitschko, and he defeated the heavyweight champion of the world. Vladimir Klitschko had a 9.5-year title reign because, as you know, Tommy Racestein, the Klitschkos have held the titles for a long time, but Vladimir, one of the two brothers, is the only one active at this time in boxing. And Tyson Fury has good movement. He seems like a guy that could transition from boxing to kickboxing to MMA like Holly Holm did. He seems like he has that type of youth and athleticism.
Maybe. I mean, he's going to have to learn takedown defense.
But he's on top of the world. He's the world heavyweight champion right now. What would that benefit him?
Takedown defense?
No, I'm talking about fighting in MMA. What would that benefit? What benefit would he gain? I would believe he makes more money boxing because fighters get paid way more money boxing. I just don't. I just see this as somewhat of a media thing, to get a lot of attention.
Yeah, it could. But, if the guys like Brock Lesnar could have made more money in WWE and could have stayed in WWE but decided to go into, MMA just for the fun of it, like CM Punk's, going to do and all those other people.
God. Oh, God.
And if he wants to do it just for the sheer fun of it all, boxers have done it before. James Toney's done it. I mean, James Toney wasn't a champ, but if the guy wants to prove himself and consider himself a fighter, the guy's a boxer. He's not a fighter. Let's clear that up.
Well, Tommy Racestein, I usually don't disagree with you, but I think you're totally wrong with that depiction. He is a fighter. He's a boxer. He's a fighter.
He's a boxer. He's not a fighter.
He's a fighter.
I don't like saying that word anymore. I used to say it all the time. He's a fighter. But no, if you're an MMA fighter, you're a fighter. No, you're a boxer. You're a boxer. If you're a wrestler, you're a wrestler.
A little bit biased.
Maybe you could say that.
I think. I mean, I cover both sports, but
you have people who are ruining the sport. You have people who are absolutely ruining the sport of boxing, like Floyd Mayweather.
Well, he recently retired.
It was complete trash. He was not even that good. He just, won all his fights by just manipulating the rules of boxing.
I can't argue with you on that one.
So you don't know who's really the best, because the best don't usually fight each other. It was impossible to get Manny Pacquiao and Floyd to fight each other at the time.
Yeah, eventually, they just had Canelo versus Cotto. That was a big fight. Vladimir versus Tyson Fury. They are having big fights.
Yeah, but compared to the UFC,
I don't think there is a comparison when it comes down to that, because I think
there's
that
only one belt in the UFC.
I think
there's only one belt in all of MMA, which
I think everyone's criticized the boxing commissions, that there's so many of them,
I have no idea which belt, which who, and it's there should be one belt, one distinguished belt like there is in UFC. Boxing's crazy. I don't
even talk about CAIN getting in the boxing ring. CAIN would get slaughtered.
Yeah, of course, but
CAIN is not even a great striker. He pushes people up against the cage. Well, how about he gets some heart, stand with Tyson Fury in the middle of the octagon?
At least he's a fighter, though. At least CAIN's a fighter. You can say that.
Tyson's a fighter too. I mean, if you're getting in
he's one dimensional. He's one dimensional. You know what I mean? Jiu-jitsu guys are fighters. I don't know. They do jiu-jitsu. Judo guys are fighters. I don't know. Judo guys do judo. Wrestlers do wrestling. Boxers do boxing. Why do boxers get this prestige of being called a fighter when they're only one-dimensional?
I think there's a lot of dimensions inside the aspect of boxing.
There's lots of different dimensions in the aspect of wrestling. I mean,
if a jiu-jitsu person gets in a fight, I mean, they're a fighter. I mean, I can't say that the jiu-jitsu guy is not a fighter. I mean, that is.
They don't say I'm gonna fight this guy. It's a jiu-jitsu match. It's wrestler. It's not. They don't fight each other. They wrestle. Boxer. They don't really.
No, a lot of people are going to dislike your attitude.
You may dislike my attitude. Not everyone does like my attitude when it comes to boxing, because what, the boxing fans have really pushed me the wrong way, and then treated me terrible when it comes to
so this is where you get your bias from.
Yeah, it might be, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna start throwing back punches. So hate me if you want, I don't care. I might have my biased opinion, but why do you get the prestige of being called a fighter if you're only doing one dimension of fighting? You don't have takedown defense, like Nick Diaz said. You don't know how to take people down. You don't know jiu-jitsu. One dimension. And you're not truly getting into a fight. If a fight broke out, you would think it was a boxing match. No. If a fight broke out, a fight breaks out. You know what I mean? Wrestling is involved, judo's involved, jiu-jitsu's involved, boxing's involved, everything's involved. Right? If a fight breaks out, isn't like,
I just don't agree with all your statements, but I agree with some of the things how you're breaking this down. Let's move on to Conor McGregor. He says that he's a big Conor McGregor fan, and he say that he felt that Conor ripped off his style.
He's the first person to ever talk trash about an opponent or grow his beard out. Come on. Muhammad Ali was probably the first. You can say anyone.
Of trash
talking. Trash talking. He was the best at it. The first person who was the best at it.
But let's talk, I'm glad you answered that question, but let's talk about the fact that he says that he is involved in mixed martial arts, not only by calling CAIN out, but watching Conor McGregor fights that show you the cross promotion of Conor McGregor and people like Ronda Rousey that get boxing fans and whatever sport that someone's involved in to come over and watch.
But the thing about MMA is that it's like you don't know exactly what would happen sometimes. It's like, okay, there's a big hole in Ronda's game. Will the striker destroy the judo fighter? Now it's over time it's been merging and mixing, but it's so interesting to see these wild different techniques clash with each other. Whereas boxing, there's small variations of techniques, but not wild, big technique. That clash with each other.
I agree with that also. I think MMA is more difficult because you have more aspects of fighting in it, but I think that boxing has a lot of dimensions into it too. And if you don't know how to box correctly, there, you know, with your head up, chin up, you know, your guard down, your movement, you know, things like that.
I don't think there's a huge variation. You know what I mean? Whereas like there's a big difference between wrestling and boxing.
Of
But you
course,
need both of them in MMA.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you only need one in boxing.
We got
Or
2
you only need
minutes
one
left.
in wrestling. When it mixed together, it becomes a real fight.
Who you got? I mean, if it was an MMA fight, CAIN Velasquez or Tyson Fury?
CAIN.
I got CAIN. If it's a boxing match, you have Tyson Fury or CAIN?
I got Tyson Fury. And if it was a swimming competition between him and Michael Phelps, I got Michael Phelps. You know, you can say, oh, well, they're both athletes, and which one's the better athlete? Come on, it's a completely different thing. You know what I mean?
For Tommy Razorstein, live in South Korea, and the Don Juan Banks. We'll check you all later.
All right, peace out.
We're still live.
All right.